Hey guys, this is Jay Calderon with Jay Unboxing here, going over a bit of my takeaways from a very busy weekend of boxing. There were definitely some highs, some lows, and some very interesting and compelling fights, a couple returns. It was a pretty interesting weekend overall. Perhaps the most newsworthy fight of them all, of course, though, was one of the best fights you're ever going to see in a bout between Juan Francisco Estrada of Mexico, the junior bantamweight champion of the world, and taking on longtime rival Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez, now a former titleist. Of course, that is not the biggest news. Whether or not you believe one man versus the other one, the fight is really inconsequential. What really became the story was the scoring of a fight that seemed fair and honest in the ring, but not so much as it pertains to its result. And after a night of sleeping on it and waking up wondering what my thoughts were on Juan Francisco Estrada's win, I just get a bit down to some degree. After assembling a brilliant Hall of Fame resume, I think about how sad it is the way that the boxing world in some respects have treated Roman Gonzalez. It's just a bit unfair, whether it's from the fans not truly believing in how great he is until really recently in his career, and so many other things. I mean, in my opinion, he defeats Soren Visai in their first bout back in 2017, only to then be knocked out in a return that doesn't have to happen if he's given the win I think he deserves. Then he's written off after being knocked out and offered up to the titleist at the time in Cal Yafai, and about many expected him to lose. Now, after winning the gold against Yafai and having that epic comeback, he puts in a performance for the ages against longtime rival Estrada, all for one judge that has since been suspended to score the bout 117-111. This is simply not how our legends of the sport should be treated. I'm sorry, it's just not. And I'll hear your arguments if you want to say Estrada won, and I'll think you're out of your mind in my personal opinion, but that's acceptable. And I say that because Estrada was outpunched, outlanded, the percentage was lower for him, he didn't start as strong, he didn't end as strong, and Gonzalez ultimately looked like the guy who hurt his man more than the other way around. That being said, it's still acceptable. 117-111 is not. And people keep talking about trilogies for Gonzalez and the money he can make. What they need to understand is for a smaller fighter at 33 going on 34, you have to worry just as much about the money as you have to worry about the age of that man, the wars he's already been in, and whether or not he has anything like that left for the sport to give the sport. And after all he's already given the sport, he shouldn't have to give any more to begin with. Getting into my next takeaway, I will talk about the return of former super middleweight titleist David Benavidez. On Saturday, Benavidez beat down and ultimately stopped Ronald Ellis in the 11th round on Showtime in a fight that more or less did what it was supposed to do. In the end, it was a fight that gave him some resistance, it challenged him at times, showed that he still is a level above those level of fighters, but ultimately, he had a pretty good performance in the end. But what it led to, really, was a question that a lot of fans have, which is a reasonable one. Is he good enough to give Canelo Alvarez some trouble? Is he good enough to beat him? And it's a reasonable question. He's a former champion, he's unbeaten, and he has a lot of tools in the toolbox. He's also big for the weight, which could be something that troubles a smaller Alvarez. But I'm not so much interested in what he has. I'm more concerned with what he might not have. A lot of the time, that determines if a promising fighter can beat the man that seems untouchable at the pinnacle of the sport. Benavidez doesn't have great defense. In fact, two areas where his defense lacks would be where Canelo typically sets up shop. When he throws that left hook, he tends to let his hands down quite a bit and stand straight up with his chin in the air. Alvarez has both a good right hand and left hook that can exploit that in that very moment. He also, Benavidez, digs to the body with the left hand, and he dips very low to that side and keeps his right hand far too far from his chin. It's not hard to imagine Canelo countering with a left hook up top. Of course, the counter argument to this is that Benavidez will be better against Canelo because you'd want to raise to that opposition, but I'm not so sure. He has done these things throughout his career. He will of course look to eliminate them for Canelo, but when it gets down to it, old habits die hard and sometimes don't die at all. Hopefully he stays in shape and dedicated to his craft, and he can work out those little kinks and make it a very interesting fight, and then we'll get to see these sorts of questions answered. But at this point, however, for me the answer is Canelo wins an exciting fight, possibly via late round stoppage. Moving on to this coming weekend, we have yet another potential foe for the aforementioned Canelo Alvarez. ARTUR Beterbiev takes on Adam Dines this weekend and could be the man that many people think has the best shot to defeat the red-headed Mexican. He has a solid chin, tremendous power, and seems to get stronger as the fight goes on, which could be an issue for Canelo, who has historically, at times, faded in close contests. Now, without getting too much into the specifics of that fight, if it were to occur, I think even more compelling is figuring out how we could get to that point in the first place. And to me, for Beterbiev to get that fight with Canelo, he needs to do, in effect, what Canelo is attempting to do at 168 pounds, at his weight of 175 pounds, which is unify the division. And this is true for a couple of reasons. For starters, that would make for tough fights that make Beterbiev look a little more beatable and perhaps even more vulnerable, but also more marketable at the same time. He'll have a better resume and all the gold if he's able to beat the likes of Dimitri Bivol and even say a Jean Pascal, who has something of a minor belt. And if he can do that and pick up the WBO belt in the process, which is vacant, it just makes it a lot more possible for him to face Canelo, who will really have nowhere else to go at 175 pounds. Now, this is tough. Again, I'm not saying it's easy. It means there's more risk. You also likely need to pay these fighters a lot because they're probably like you trying to wait around for that Canelo check. However, with ESPN's budget, if they plan it right and spend this money to try to make more money with the fight like Canelo down the road, it's not completely out of the question. Ultimately, Beterbiev should spend all of 2021 making sure that if and when Canelo is done with 168 pounds, all roads lead to Beterbiev. And even those are just my kind of quick takes and takeaways from this weekend. What did you have on your mind? Love to hear it down in the comments. You can leave that there. Of course, you can also get in contact with me at junboxing@gmail.com. You can follow me on Twitter at jcalderon_JOB. You can also visit the website, junboxing.com, for schedule, results, betting odds, rankings, all of that updated daily. Be sure to, like I said, like, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Really do appreciate it. And as always, until next time.